Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya wal Mursaleen. This is Mujeeb Kazi, and you're watching Washington Roundtable, powered by VOKTV. Good evening, and have today, August 5th, marks the 6 years of Indian abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, which changed the dynamics, the political and the political dynamics of Kashmir. The abrogation of 370 and 35A was tactical move by the Indian Prime Minister in collaboration with reportedly by then Army Chief of Pakistan, General Bajwa, and ISI Chief General Faz, which has led to Kashmir democratic change, cultural delusions, and for political silence to growing alienation. Kashmir today stands at a crossroad. Has its voices been lost in noise of nationalism, or is there still hope for reclaiming its unique identity and rights? So tonight we will dive into all this discussion with the president of KGC, Farooq Siddiqui Saab, who is joining us from Canada. Siddiqui Saab, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
In your opinion, how has it changed 6 years from the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A of Indian Constitution, and what does it mean for people of Kashmir?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's a very emotional issue for people of Kashmir, but at the same time, probably there is something beneath this Article 370 abrogation, that what India has committed is basically he thought that by this abrogation he might be able to win over or take over Kashmir completely, but it has boomerang on India.
So let me interject for a minute. I would like to play a video where you posed a question to the Indian Foreign Minister at the Asia Society, where you posed this question, and I'm going to play that video up here, and I want you to listen to it and respond back. And in your opinion, do you think the Foreign Minister of India has responded back to your question to your satisfactory?
Possible that India can remove this particular condition of 370 and 35A because it reflects the instrument of accession. Just a moment, let me complete the question.
No, I think we got the question.
Yes,
and I think we'll
the
move
question
to the answer.
is that once Article 370 is removed, that means India's relationship with Kashmir is over. And what is there is 800,000 army.
I think we've got the question.
How is
And I think I'm
it
going
possible
to
that it
take
is
the
your
microphone
power?
from you. I'm actually chairing the meeting, not you. Thank you.
Let me give a short, clear answer to the questions there. I think there are two misconceptions. Number one, a misconception that the instrument of accession, which was signed by the ruler of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, was different from those of the others. In fact, you can again, this is public information, I have it on my phone. If you look at the instrument of accession, and remember the British bureaucracy at that time was very strong and had impacted all of us. Everybody, all the princely states got exactly the same document to sign. This document was typed up. It had a blank for the name of the ruler, a blank for the name of the state.
Your question to him was, abrogation of 370 and 35A basically has India has done with the relationship with Kashmir, and obviously he started giving you the historical perspective. Your take on that?
Yeah, I did ask him a question while he was delivering a speech in Asia Society in New York. When I asked him that abrogation of 370 article basically has removed any of the bridges, legal or moral or historical bridge between India and Kashmir. So once you remove that bridge, obviously what is there is a state which has been occupied, and it's only the boots of Indian soldiers that is keeping it under Indian occupation. Otherwise, legally, historically, and by any moral standards, Kashmir is right now an independent state, independent country, but occupied under the boots of India. That was my question. I just wanted to go into the background. You had just now this the map that you had shown. If you can put that again, I might want to. Yes. Now, if you look at this map, the brown areas are the areas of the Hindu-dominated British Indian controlled areas, territories. British controlled territories of 1947. So these were the brown areas where Britishers controlled India, not the white ones. In the similar way, the Muslim dominated areas, which are shown again in green here, were controlled by British India. So there has to be the audience needs to know that there are two things here. They have to differentiate what is British India, for which the Parliament of England passed the Independence Act, right?
Right.
Independence Act of 1935. That act was passed for these territories which you are showing on this map, the brown ones and green ones. The white ones were those territories which were not under British Parliament, British administration. So those were only having some sort of very loose suzerainty with the British crown. Nawabs used to go, the Maharajas used to go there every year. But Lord Mountbatten, as you know him historically, the last viceroy, he didn't have any control on these white areas, which were in Pakistan. You can see the part of Balochistan, which was called Kalat, and also in India, you can see Hyderabad, Kashmir, and Kalat, and all those areas. They were not under. There's a legend also, which you can read and see what it says. So these were not part of British India. So British India, the accession to either dominions of India and Pakistan was supposed to be for these areas. And the other areas which are shown here in white were those areas where they had the decision up to the ruler what to decide. So there was nothing. They could have gone independent also, and they could have chosen anything between India, Pakistan, or stayed independent, right? But for the areas which are colored here, the British Parliament had issued that they either go to India or they go to the Pakistan. These were the two new dominions which had erupted out of that British Parliament Act of 1940. In 1947, it was passed in May, and on 14th August and 15th August, all these territories had to accede. That is what the External Affairs Minister is referring to. But he does not understand, or he willfully blinds himself to the fact that accession was not for the whole of India or these areas which are shown here in white. So there has been a blanket, well, basically both by India and Pakistan. So they always talk about no. After 1947, there's supposed to be an accession either here or there. So yes, there was an accession which was supposed to be there, but it was for those areas which were under British rule, and British rule means directly under the administration of British Parliament, not the crown.
I'm going to bring up another map that shows that what happens afterwards, and I want you to elaborate a little bit that.
Yeah. Let me explain. Yeah.
Then you
let
can
me explain now to this. Today is 5th August, and in that reference, let me explain.
Sure.
Now, I do not want to go back into the history, what happened, what invasion was took place in 1947 from Pakistan, and India defended, and Maharaja acceded temporarily, or sought refuge, or sought the military intervention of India in order to keep his kingdom intact. Or his, I just don't want to go into that because that is another part. But when Maharaja decided that, okay, because he had a standstill agreement with both India as well as Pakistan, but when there was an invasion, he went to Lord Mountbatten and sought military intervention to defend Kashmir, which he thought that is his property. Now, when he went there, he acceded. There was an accession done on the basis of a special instrument of accession, there were many clauses in that in an instrument of accession, and very important clause. That important clause that you can see in number 7 states that nothing in this instrument shall be deemed to commit in any way the acceptance of any future constitution of India or to fetter my direction to enter arrangements with the government of India under any such future constitution. So this is a very important clause in instrument of accession, which states that I am doing this instrument of accession with you, and there is nothing more to this to be added in any of the future constitution, because that time India had no constitution. This instrument of accession was signed on 27th of October, in the night of 27th of October. At that time, India had just emerged as a country, as dominion, not a country, and it had no constitution. So that's why the word future is referred in instrument of accession, that I will not be bound by any of the future constitution of India. So what happened now, we fast forward to 2019, when this application was done by 370. So this became a bridge, which I said earlier, that between India and Kashmir, the legal bridge, which was created by Maharaja. He was a fleeing Maharaja at the dead of the night. So, but still, it was a temporary bridge, legal bridge, on which the administration of Kashmir was taken by the local governments or the federal central government. So once you remove, there was no constitution. So the only bridge legal was this. And in 1950, India made constitution. It took them 3 years to make constitution. And they found out that, hey, we have this constitution, and then we have this legality with Kashmir, which is supposed to be under the instrument of accession. So how do we incorporate in the constitution this particular conditions of instrument of accession? So they provided in 370 the same conditions. If you see originally, the 370, which was later on eroded by subsequent governments of Farooq Abdullah and Congress and say, but in the originality, there were only 3 things that were supposed to be with government of India. That was the communication, one, the defense, and foreign policy.
According to your understanding, according to this instrument of accession, Kashmir, as of right now, stands as an independent state. That's what you're saying?
Yes, it is completely an independent state.
But because of the might and 800,000 soldiers on the ground, it has impacted the local population of Kashmir in the last 6 years. Can you turn off the phone, please?
1 moment. I have to put it. Sorry. Yes.
The question was, according to your understanding of instrument of accession, Kashmir stands as an independent state at December. Obviously, the occupying forces have taken over the country. How has it impacted the people of Kashmir since then in the last 6 years under your observation?
Obviously, you see Gaza, you hear about Gaza, that it has been occupied and it has been enclosed. But I recall there was a European Union delegation which came to Kashmir. His name was Kushnan, headed by Mr. Kushnan. He was a parliamentarian, and when he went to Kashmir, at least that time there were some openings of people could voice, people would come out on the streets also. But still, when he went there, he said that this is a beautiful prison. It was in 2008. Now, Coming on 2019, you have about 800,000 army in the civilian areas, and you have army all over the forest lands, state lands, in your, what you call, outside your houses. It's a garrison city.
It's a
So
garrison.
you can't throw every time the smoke screen to the international community, to the people of Kashmir or people of India, that everything is honky donkey in Kashmir. There are no basic rights. People cannot even speak up against government. Even if they write on their social media posts, next thing is that they are being put in the prison. It is not a normal society there. It has affected, and Mr. Modi wants to show to the world that no, I am in control. But it is shameful for India and shameful for Mr. Modi to say that I am in control when you are putting 800 million army there on the streets for these Kashmiris, not to speak, not to come up on the street. There are draconian laws there. People have been put in the prison. Anybody who is in dissent is supposed to be under the bars. It has affected very, very negatively.
So it has affected negatively the whole nation of Kashmir. The problem is that Indian media has shown some rosy pictures on their screens, but reality reflects the other ways. There are reports that the demography has been changed. The people are upset because their identity has been altered. At least there was some sort of a flag that the people of Kashmir used to carry. All of those. Do you think there is a real identity crisis in Kashmir at this time, apart from obviously losing the autonomy, losing the hope of having an independent state, and all of that? How do you see that situation emerging in the past 6 years that since the abrogation of 370?
No, I don't think that there is an identity crisis in Kashmir for Kashmiris. It has reinforced Kashmiris' identity as a nationalist or subnationalist people. And
Okay.
it has reinforced within the psyche of Kashmiris that they are as a completely different nation having different culture and different identity. And that identity has been reinforced by the brutal force that is being applied on a daily basis in Kashmir. There is no identity crisis. But yes, there is resistance, internal resistance, which is very calm and which has not erupted as yet, but it will erupt at any stage because there is everything has an optimum level of you can stay with that,
Yeah.
but there will be a time when that optimum level will be crossed and people are going to erupt and it will no more be under the Indian control. They cannot even control with that 800,000 army or million army they have because there is no social contract between India and Kashmiris. Yes.
It's a coincidence that August 5th, the last Governor General of Kashmir, Satyapal Malik, died today on August 5th. You know, it's a sad demise. He was probably the last one in Kashmir who had some sort of a sane voice when it comes down to speaking the truth. And today, the news has come in that he has passed. August 5th, we see in Pakistan, Imran Khan has, called for a massive protest because that completes his about 700 plus days in the unjust prison. And you see the sane voices are going away. The sanity is kind of diminishing. The narrative is shifting. The narrative is changing when it comes to demography, the freedom of press, freedom of media. Overall, how do you see the? I just want to get the sense of people. I know you mentioned that it's an open, beautiful prison, basically, and it is. But at the same time, people have to move on and live their life. What shift do you see 6 years from the abrogation of 370 and 35A?
No, again, my condolences to the family of Mr. Satpal Singh. It really does not matter. I have seen these intellectuals and politicians and opinion makers and thinkers of India. They will talk a lot about different aspects, very high morals and other things. But when it comes to Kashmir, the basic premise is that Kashmir is occupied and there is a military occupation, physical military occupation there. All these intellectuals and thinkers and opinion makers, they refuse to admit that. And that is the tragedy for India. That is the tragedy for the Indian people, that their own political leaders and their own elite who make the opinion do not admit that they are occupying a land against the wishes of the people, which is Kashmir, right?
How
So,
serious, how serious this issue is for the people of Kashmir, 370 and 35? Just wondering because, it doesn't matter if they have
no,
any.
370 only reflected the acceptance of India. It reflected the acceptance of India that Kashmir has its own identity, which
Okay.
we should respect. So that
Okay.
was the feeling with Kashmiris, that this is. Otherwise, there is nothing more in that,
Okay.
because they feel that it is an occupation, military is controlling. So 370 was only sort of a what you call some soft touch there, that no, we still have that little bit of identity left, which
Okay.
basically to the Kashmiris does not matter, because Kashmiris basically are not part of the South Asia business. And again, I will argue that we are basically connected to Central Asia rather than South Asia, and it was unfortunate that somehow this Maharaja and all these people, we got into in this connection with South Asia. Otherwise, our trade routes were always with Kashgar and Central Asia. But coming back to your question again, that about in Pakistan also, that there is a huge problem about the voices of the people are being stifled, like in India. The same thing is happening in Godi media. The same thing is happening in Pakistan. I mean, they are stifling a very popular voice and popular leader, which is unfortunate. I mean, to me sometimes I'm reminded of, I think, that Churchill, when he told Lord Attlee, the then prime minister, that who are you giving these independence to? Which countries? They cannot administer their countries. And you can see, I think in the British times there were more rights of people and discipline than what you have in present times. And they really, after independence, they really have not served their people. The poor has gone more poor, and rich have gone richer.
Yeah, the last question before we end the show. How responsible then Army Chief General Bajwa do you consider playing part in siding with Indian authorities when 370 was abrogated?
No, I was basically, when there were some indications that there were certain things going on between India and Pakistan that time, and I am not privy to what happened with General Bajwa and what he was saying, but I wanted to have an awareness conference in Pakistan, which were not allowed by the military of Pakistan. The ISI of Pakistan did allow that conference, but it was the military intelligence, I think, they did not want to have that conference, which becomes a part of the history. This was supposed to be on the same day, 5th of August in 2019. I have all the documents with me for that. So, but I don't know. I mean, subject to the verification of the state of Pakistan, and I have no comments for that.
Because
But the
unfortunately,
only thing is that they did not allow that conference to happen in Islamabad, which was supposed to be about application of 370 article in
it's
terms of
unfortunate.
Mr. Bajwa.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Pakistan doesn't have any standing policy towards Kashmir. It changes from army chief to army chief, and we'll see how it goes down the hill. Last comment before I close the show. Do you have any last comment?
No, the only thing is that Kashmiris are not going to get bogged down by these military occupations. We have our own history, our own culture, our own heritage, and we are very conscious of preserving that, fighting it out. And inshallah, a time is going to come that we will be free. And I just want to also add that when I speak of Kashmir, it is not the only Kashmiri Muslim. I'm also speaking about the Kashmiri Pandits who are also suffering this time because they have also lost their right to live in Kashmir. They are scattered all over the world and would want to come back. And I wish them well, and I hope they will come back, and we'll be all free, like a society that we are civilized, lived for the last 5,000 years in harmony, in coexistence, and that is the message that I want to send. And as long as I live, I will continue to work for that, and will continue to raise awareness about Kashmir wherever I can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will KGC signing up from the studio of Washington, D.C. Until next time, take good care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.